You think your reactions are your personality. You think your panic, your shame, your urge to explain yourself, your sudden anger or collapse are just who you are. They are not. They are the output of a nervous system that was built to keep a tribal animal alive, not to tell you the truth, and not to help you win in modern power games. Your brain does not care about logic. It cares about survival. It cares about staying accepted, staying liked, staying inside the group. If you feel sick when someone is upset with you, if your heart races when someone in authority frowns, if silence from someone you like feels like death, that is not random. That is your ancient survival wiring screaming that you are in danger of being kicked out of the tribe. Chapter 1. Prey mode versus predator mode. A prey nervous system is what most people live in every day. You know it from the inside. You talk too fast when you feel judged. You explain yourself to people who have not earned it. You rush to answer texts because you are scared they will lose interest. You apologize just to calm the room, even when you are not wrong. You spill personal details to people who only asked a shallow question. You react the second you feel ignored, rejected, challenged, or insulted. In prey mode, your behavior is loud, impulsive, and messy. You say what you later regret. You promise things you do not want to do. You chase people who are pulling away. Under pressure, you betray yourself, just to reduce the tension in the moment. Then you go home and hate yourself for it. Predator mode is the opposite state. It is not cruelty. It is not physical violence. It is a mental operating system. In predator mode, your body may still feel the emotional wave, but your actions do not. From the outside, it looks cold. You talk slower. You say less. You do not explain. You let silence do the work. You watch patterns instead of reacting to words. Your decisions feel almost boring inside you because there is so little emotion pushing them. You are not numb. You are selective. You use emotion when it helps you. The rest of the time, you move like someone who has already accepted that not everyone has to like you. Not every problem needs a fast answer, and not every insult deserves a reply. People feel this state as power. They argue, accuse, threaten, and you do not flinch. That is predator mode. Here is the dark part. You already have this circuitry built in. You have had moments where you suddenly detached, where time slowed down, where you saw the bigger pattern and stopped caring about the noise. Maybe it was during a crisis, a breakup, a job loss, or a betrayal. For a short time you felt strangely calm, almost icy. Then your old reactions came back, and you told yourself that calm version was not the real you. That was the lie. The truth is that both modes live in you, but you have been trained since childhood to obey the prey settings, to react when someone pushes you, to rush when someone pressures you, to feel guilty when you say no. This is about the switch. Not a magic trick, but a specific sequence of nervous system and attention shifts that move you out of prey mode and into a cold, strategic state on command. When you understand how this switch works, you stop being a target for other people's games and start running your own. Chapter 2. How your brain gets hijacked. Your loss of control does not start in your mind. It starts in a small, deep part of your brain that does not care about your plans. The amygdala. Neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux showed that this region acts like an alarm. It scans for danger and reacts fast, even before you consciously know what is happening. There are two main routes your brain uses. The low road is the fast, dirty path. It sends rough information from your senses straight to the amygdala, which triggers a body response almost instantly. Heart rate spikes, muscles tighten, stomach twists. The high road is slower and more detailed. It sends information through the cortex where you can think about it. But by the time your thinking brain gets the full story, your body is already in motion. That is why you can feel offended, ashamed, or angry before you have a clear thought. Your prey mode is already online before your logic even wakes up. Once that alarm goes off, your body releases stress hormones. Adrenaline hits first. It is fast-acting. It makes your heart pound, your breathing shallow, your hands shaky or restless. Shortly after, cortisol rises. It keeps you on alert, keeps your body ready for a fight or escape. From a neuroendocrine point of view, These chemicals do not stay at peak levels for long. The flood is sharp. Hormones like adrenaline have a short half-life in the bloodstream. This means the intense physical surge rises and starts to decay quickly, usually within a minute or two, unless you keep stimulating it. Cortisol lasts longer, but the sharp emotional spike you feel when something triggers you is not designed to be permanent. Your body is built to hit hard, then calm down if the threat is gone. This is where Antonio Damasio's work matters. He showed that emotion comes first, thought second. The body shifts, signals move through the nervous system, and you feel an emotional state. Then your thinking brain comes in and tries to make sense of it. But most people flip that in their mind. They believe they are thinking their way into emotions, when in reality, the body already decided it is under attack. This is why your reasoning is so weak during emotional spikes. You are not reasoning. You are building stories to match what your body already feels. You are trying to be logical while sitting on a chemical wave built for survival, not for fairness or truth. Clinical observations, like those shared by M. Jill Bolte-Taylor, and hormone data from neuroendocrinology, point to something simple and dangerous. The worst of that emotional surge has a short life if you do not keep feeding it. This is what people call the 90-second rule. From the moment your body is triggered, the pure chemical wave of emotion will pass through your system in about a minute and a half if you stop re-triggering it with new thoughts. That does not mean you feel nothing after 90 seconds. It means the raw fire calms down unless you keep throwing fuel on it. But most people do not let it pass. The event hits, the hormones surge, and then the mind starts running stories. Here is how you trap yourself. Something happens. Someone ignores your message. Someone disrespects you in public. Someone hints they might leave. The low road fires. Your heart jumps. Your stomach drops. In that moment, if you did absolutely nothing with your mind, the wave would peak and fall. But you do the opposite. You start replaying what was said. You imagine what others are thinking. You predict worst-case scenarios. You attach meaning to every detail. Every replay, every new angle, sends fresh signals back through the brain's fear circuits. The amygdala gets hit again. The body releases more stress chemistry. What was a 90-second spike becomes a 3-hour storm or a 3-day obsession. James Gross's research on emotion regulation shows this clearly. How you frame a situation changes how strong and how long your emotions last. Cognitive appraisal, the way you explain events to yourself, can calm your system or keep it on fire. When you tell yourself that a delay means rejection, that an argument means abandonment, that a look means disrespect, your brain treats it as proof of danger. The fear circuits stay active. You stay in prey mode. The more you mentally rehearse the insult or the threat, the more you keep your own amygdala on a loop. You are feeding the same alarm system that is ruining your choices. Ethan Kross's work on psychological distance and self-talk adds another tool to this puzzle. When you talk to yourself in the first person, saying things like, "I am such a failure," or "I cannot believe this is happening to me," you stay inside the emotional frame. The self is fused with the event. But when you shift to third person, using your own name or you, the brain creates a small distance. That distance reduces emotional intensity and increases problem solving. It is as if you moved from being trapped inside a burning room to watching it from across the street. The event is the same. The chemicals are already in your body, but your attention and language choices decide if you keep the fire alive or let it burn out. Put these pieces together and you see the mechanism of the hijack. First, low road, amygdala, fast reaction, hormonal surge. You feel it as panic, anger, shame, or the urge to fix. Then your thinking brain comes in and either calms it or amplifies it. If you instantly start running emotional stories, you refuel the flood over and over until your whole day follows the script of that first 90 seconds. If instead you do nothing during that window, if you let the body burn through the wave without feeding it, the chemicals decay. Your thinking brain regains control. You shift from prey mode to something closer to predator mode, simply because you did not act and did not believe your first thoughts. That is the core of the switch. You are not your first reaction. You are what you do, or refuse to do in those 90 seconds. Chapter 3. Hack 1. The 90-second flood rule. Now you turn this science into a weapon. The 90-second flood rule is simple to understand and hard to obey. It means that when your body gets hit with a strong emotional wave, you do not move your life during that time. No texts, no calls, no explanations, no long messages, no dramatic decisions, no revenge, no fixing. You let the fire burn through your nervous system while your behavior stays still. Think of it like being strapped to a chair in a burning room, except the room is inside your chest. Your only job is not to run. Quick reality check. You are not meant to learn this. Your reactions keep other people in control. If you like that, walk away and forget this exists. If you want out of that role, subscribe now. This channel is where you learn how to stop being easy to push and start becoming hard to read. The flood will feel like it will last forever, but it is chemistry. It rises, peaks, and starts to fall whether you like it or not, as long as you do not keep triggering it. In practice, this looks brutal. Your phone lights up with a disrespectful message. Your cheeks get hot. Your throat tightens. Your mind starts building replies. You want to send a long paragraph. You want to correct the story. You want them to understand how wrong they are. The rule says, do nothing for at least 90 seconds. Put the phone face down. Sit back. Notice how your body feels, but do not start a story. Your brain will try to drag you into thoughts. It will pull up every past insult, every old wound. You do not fight the wave. You just refuse to join the mental story. To keep yourself from slipping into rumination, you use anchors: breath, posture, physical sensation. You can feel your feet on the floor, your back against the chair, the temperature of the air. You can slow your breathing, not in a dramatic way, but in a steady way. Inhale, exhale, count slowly if you have to. Mindfulness and interoception research shows that when you place attention on body sensations without judgment, activity in the amygdala drops, and regions involved in regulation become more engaged. Long and simple terms, you pull energy away from the fear circuits by watching the body instead of feeding the fear with thoughts. You are still inside the fire, but you are not throwing more fuel into it. During these 90 seconds, your mind will scream that you must act now, that if you do not reply instantly, you will lose them, that if you do not explain, they will hate you, that if you do not fix it, everything will fall apart. This is the prey script. It is designed to keep you reactive and obedient. The discipline is to see those urges as noise. They are not commands. They are survival programs written for a different time in history. When you refuse to obey them, something interesting happens. After a minute or two, the sharpest edge of the emotion softens. Your body is still activated, but you are no longer drowning. You have space. In that space, logic returns. You can see angles instead of just pain. That transition is the real switch. The dark advantage of this is simple. In conflict, negotiation, rejection, or humiliation, whoever moves first under the flood usually loses. When you act from the spike, you reveal your fears, your needs, your weak spots. You over-explain and give away information. You accept deals that favor the other side just to end the tension. You send emotional messages that lower your status. You show people exactly which buttons work on you. Studies on stress and decision quality show that high arousal pushes people towards short-term relief over long-term gain. You grab whatever makes the feeling stop, even if it costs you power. By holding still during the flood, you deny others access to that chaos. They see less of your inner state, so they have less to use against you. Think of a betrayal text. Someone you trusted suddenly says they have been talking to someone else. Prey response: you call immediately. You cry. You ask why. You argue, beg, or attack. You send long paragraphs trying to fix their view of you, or trying to win them back. Every message you send while flooded hands them more control. They see your addiction. They see your fear of loss. The 90-second predator response is different. The text hits. Your body explodes. You feel sick. You want to scream. You do nothing. You let the 90 seconds pass. Then, still without replying, you give it more time if needed. You let the chemistry crash. When you finally respond, it is short, clear, and firm. Or you choose not to answer at all. The choice comes from a colder place, not from panic. They feel the difference. Or take a public insult. Someone calls you out in front of others. Prey mode jumps to defend. You rush into long arguments, trying to clear your name. You look flustered. You talk too fast. Everyone watches your loss of control, and their nervous systems decide, at a gut level, that your status is lower. The 90-second rule keeps you still. You feel the hit in your chest, but you do not bite. You pause, breathe, let the wave pass. Then you choose. Maybe you answer with one calm sentence. Maybe you ask a simple question that puts the weight back on them. Maybe you keep silent and look at them with a steady face. That quiet after an attack is heavy. People feel that as strength. Financial loss is another test. You see a sudden drop in your account, a bad trade, a mistake at work. Prey mode panics and tries to fix it instantly, often by taking reckless steps that make everything worse. You double down on a bad trade. You rush into risky decisions. You throw good money after bad to get rid of the feeling of loss. The predator approach is 90 seconds of forced stillness. You let the shock hit. You feel your heart race, but you do not touch anything. You do not sell. You do not buy. You do not send emails. You let the spike drop. Once you are calmer, you look at the numbers like they belong to someone else. The problem did not vanish, but your chance of making a clear move just increased. The 90-second flood rule will not make you emotionless. It makes you untouchable during the most dangerous part of the emotional wave. The cost is discomfort. You will feel like you are dying when you sit through that first spike without reacting. But that is just the nervous system trying to drag you back into old patterns. Every time you hold still while flooded, you are training your brain that it does not get to run your life. Over time, the wave itself gets weaker, faster. Your system learns that triggers are not automatic commands. That is how prey mode starts to lose its grip. Chapter 4. Hack 2. The distance frame. The death of I feel. Once the flood has passed, you enter the second hack, distance. Emotional stories are strongest when you stay inside them. The language you use with yourself either locks you in or lets you step out. Ethan Cross's research showed that when people talk to themselves using their own name or you instead of I, their emotional intensity drops and their ability to reason increases. It sounds small, but it is a switch. I cannot believe they did this to me keeps you fused with the wound. You are dealing with someone who did this, moves you a little outside it. That small gap is where strategy lives. So you set a rule for predator mode. After the 90-second flood, you are not allowed to think in terms of I feel. The more you repeat I feel hurt, I feel rejected, I feel disrespected, the more your brain looks for evidence to prove those feelings right. Instead, you shift to a frame that sounds cold on purpose. You ask, if this was not my life, if I was watching this like a case study, what is the probability that each option leads to a good outcome? You move from emotion to numbers. This connects to cognitive reappraisal research and to Kahneman and Tversky's work on probabilistic thinking. Human brains are bad at choices under uncertainty when emotions are high, but when forced to think in chances and scenarios, the emotional hold weakens. Numbers act like anesthesia for the emotional system, not because they are perfect, but because they pull resources toward analytical networks. In dual process theories, people talk about fast, emotional thinking and slow, deliberate thinking. When you start assigning rough probabilities to outcomes, you yank yourself toward the slower system. For example, instead of I feel like I will never find someone else, you ask, if I was looking at this from the outside, what is the chance that this breakup ruins my whole life versus the chance that I eventually find someone better? You do not need exact data. You only need to realize that the fear is claiming 100% disaster, while reality is probably far from that. Here is the protocol. Trigger hits. You sit through the 90-second flood without acting. When the sharp edge softens, you shift into distance frame. You talk to yourself in third person. You are in a conflict at work. You are considering quitting. You are angry. Then you list your options as if you were advising someone else. Option A, react now. Send a long message. Quit on the spot. Option B, stay silent for 24 hours. Gather more information. Option C, talk to a neutral person higher up. Option D, start planning an exit quietly while keeping calm on the surface. For each option you ask, what is the rough probability this ends well in the long term? What is the cost if it goes badly? It does not have to be perfect. The point is to shift from "I feel hurt" to "what move has the highest expected value." Take betrayal. Your partner admits they cheated. After the 90-second rule, you go into distance frame. Instead of asking, "Why am I not enough?" you say, "You are with someone who chose to cheat. What are the options?" You list them. Stay and try to rebuild. Leave now. Pretend it did not happen. Drag the punishment out. Then you ask, "If I look at others in this position, what usually happens with each choice? What is the probability that staying actually leads to trust again? What is the probability that leaving hurts in the short term but protects my long-term self-respect?" You detach from your personal story and look at patterns. It will still hurt, but you are not thinking like prey anymore. You are not asking, "Do they still love me?" You are asking, "Which choice increases my long-term power and peace?" Rejection is another case. Someone you liked stops replying. Prey mode runs, "I feel abandoned, I feel ugly, I feel unworthy." Predator mode, after the 90 seconds, says, "You are dealing with someone who stopped matching your energy. What are the likely reasons? They lost interest, got busy, or are playing games. What are your options?" You list. Chase them, double text, send a long emotional message, or pull back and match their distance. Then you ask, "What is the probability that chasing raises my value? What is the probability that matching distance and moving on protects my dignity and attracts stronger people over time?" Again, you are moving from immediate emotional relief to cold probability. Workplace conflict shows this clearly. Your boss criticizes you in a harsh way. Prey mode wants to defend in the moment or collapse into shame. After your 90 seconds, you move to distance. You are an employee who just got criticized. What are the options? Get defensive now. Say nothing and plan a future conversation. Ask specific questions about performance. Start job hunting while staying professional. For each, you attach rough chances. If I get defensive now, what is the probability they see me as immature? If I stay calm and ask for specific examples, what is the probability I gain information and signal strength? You are not controlled by how attacked you feel. You are controlled by what move wins over time. This distance frame will feel fake at first. Your emotions will scream that using numbers during pain is cold and inhuman. That is exactly why it works. Prey mode wants you inside the story, chasing approval and relief. Predator mode wants you above the scene, counting. When you stay in "I feel," you are easy to control. When you switch to "what is the highest probability move," you become dangerous, because now you can act against your own short-term feelings. You can stay silent when every cell wants to talk. You can walk away when every fear wants to cling. That is how power looks from the inside. Chapter 5. Hack 3. The Fear Audit Protocol. Exposing the secret contract. There is a reason your prey mode keeps winning. It is not just chemistry. It is the silent contracts your fear has written for you. Evolution trained your brain to detect threats, especially threats of exclusion, humiliation, and loss. In early human groups, being rejected by the tribe could mean death, so your nervous system learned to panic at the idea of being disliked, abandoned, or embarrassed. Over time, that turned into hidden rules that run your life. You avoid saying what you think because you fear conflict. You stay in bad relationships because you fear being alone. You work jobs you hate because you fear looking like a failure. Fear is not just a feeling, it is a scriptwriter. It gives you strict instructions, and you obey them without question. The Fear Audit Protocol is how you expose and break those contracts. Step 1 is to name the threat in plain language, not in soft terms, not in vague words. If you feel panicked at the idea of someone leaving, you do not say, "I am just sensitive." You say, "I am terrified of being abandoned." If you avoid asking for a raise, you do not say, "I do not want to cause trouble." You say, "I am scared they will see me as greedy or replaceable." The brain hates clear naming, because clarity shows you how much of your life is driven by fear, not by values or logic. Step 2 is to strip social shame away from that threat. This means you separate what might happen from what people would think about me if it happens. For example, fear. If I say no to this favor, they will think I am selfish. That is not a real-world event. That is a guessing game about other people's minds. You split it. what might actually happen in reality. They might be annoyed. They might ask someone else. They might pull away. And what are you really scared of? That they will label you as a bad person, that others will agree, that you will feel guilt and shame. When you pull these apart, you realize you are not avoiding events. You are avoiding feelings and imagined opinions. Step 3 is to ask 2 brutal questions. First, what does this fear force me to do? Second, what does it stop me from doing? For example, fear of being alone. What does it force you to do? Stay in dead relationships. Accept disrespect. Chase people who are halfway in. What does it stop you from doing? Leaving. Setting standards. Taking time alone to build a better life. Meeting people who actually match you. That contrast shows you the real price of your fear. You see that avoiding one feeling is costing you entire futures. Clinical models like cognitive behavioral therapy talk about automatic thoughts and avoidance behaviors. Exposure therapy shows that when you face what you avoid, the fear drops. The audit is your personal version of that power. People in predator mode use fear audits to move toward what everyone else runs from. There is a difficult conversation at work. Most people avoid it because they fear being seen as difficult. Predator mind asks, what does this fear make me do? It makes me stay quiet and accept unfair treatment. What does it stop me from doing? It stops me from setting boundaries and being taken seriously. Then they move toward the hard talk, because they understand that walking into fear is where power sits. Another example, saying no. Prey mode fears being seen as selfish, so you overextend to avoid that label. Predator mode sees that this fear forces you to abandon yourself and stops you from respecting your own time. So you start saying no calmly, even when it feels wrong in your body. Your nervous system screams, but your actions follow the audit, not the panic. The same holds in relationships. Maybe you are scared of being truly honest about what you want, because you fear the other person walking away. That fear forces you to act low value, accept half measures, and hide your standards. It stops you from filtering out weak partners. Predators notice this and act against it. They state what they want, even when their body fears loss. If the other person leaves, the fear is real, but so is the information gained. Only people who can meet them stay. That is power rooted in a fear audit, not an ego. Once you start doing fear audits regularly, you see the pattern. Under almost every self-betrayal is a fear of rejection, shame, or loss. Your life starts to look like a long list of choices made to avoid certain feelings. That is prey living. Predator mode is not the absence of fear. It is the constant exposing of fear, then acting according to long-term gain instead of short-term comfort. You slowly teach your brain that being uncomfortable is not death. Losing people who rely on your obedience is not death. Disappointing others is not death. The only real death is a life run by unexamined fear. Chapter 6. Integration. Turn into a cold operator. Now you put it all together. The 90-second flood rule, the distance frame, and the fear audit form an operating system. Trigger hits and prey mode tries to grab the wheel. Instead of obeying, you run the sequence. First, you hold still during the 90-second flood. No texts, no explanations, no fast decisions. You anchor your awareness in the body and breathe while the chemistry rages through you. You let the hormonal spike rise and fall without feeding it with mental stories. Already you have done something most people never do. You refuse to act while emotionally drunk. Second, once the edge of the wave softens, you shift into the distance frame. You stop saying "I feel" and start speaking to yourself in third person. You become your own advisor, not your own victim. You list your options like a strategist, not like a hurt child. You attach rough probabilities to each move. You ask which action serves your long-term power, not just your current emotion. You use numbers, scenarios, and cold questions to pull your brain away from the emotional circuits and into analysis. You step from prey to observer to operator. Third, you run a fear audit on the situation. You ask what you are really scared of, in clear language. Then you separate actual outcomes from imagined social shame. You write down or say what this fear has been forcing you to do, and what it has been stopping you from doing. Then you choose the move that goes against the fear when that move aligns with your long-term goals. You walk toward the difficult conversation, toward the boundary, toward the silence, toward the exit, instead of away from it. Every time you do that, you train your system to respect your decisions more than your fears. Run this process often enough, and you will notice a shift in how people respond to you. Calm becomes a weapon. Your lack of rush in arguments makes others feel exposed. Your refusal to overshare under pressure makes manipulators nervous because they cannot get a grip on your weak spots. Your ability to sit in silence after someone pushes you makes them wonder what you are thinking. That uncertainty gives you leverage. Status research and dominance signaling show that stillness, slow speech, and controlled reactions are read as power signals. You are no longer broadcasting anxiety. You are broadcasting quiet, and people project their own fears and fantasies into that silence. Some will fear you, some will respect you, some will hate you, some will be drawn in, but few will feel nothing. There is a dark side here. If you use these tools without ethics, you can slide toward something close to subclinical psychopathy. Reduced emotional reactivity, high control, and fearless decision-making can be used to manipulate, exploit, and discard people with no guilt. Research on callous, unemotional traits shows that a certain set of people already think like this by default. They stay cold, read others, and move them like pieces. You are learning a similar control, but you still have a choice about how to use it. Emotional detachment plus probability thinking can make you highly effective, but also dangerous. You could start seeing people only as assets or threats, and forget that your decisions actually hurt lives. The real danger is not outside you. It is inside. Once you realize you can stay calm under almost anything, it is tempting to become arrogant, to treat other people's emotions as weaknesses, to feel superior because you do not panic like they do. That is where you decide what kind of predator you will be. Cold operator does not have to mean cruel. It means you are no longer at the mercy of your nervous system. You feel everything, but you are not dragged by it. You can choose silence instead of explosions, leaving instead of clinging, patience instead of chasing. That is rare. That is power. Understand that this knowledge makes you harder to control. You will buy less from fear-based marketing. You will react less to political outrage. You will be less moved by guilt trips, silent treatments, and last-minute pressure. Systems built on getting fast emotional compliance from you will stop working. But with that freedom comes responsibility. Your calm will affect people. Your silence will send signals. Your ability to detach will cut deeper than loud anger. You can use this to create cleaner relationships, stronger boundaries, and better choices. Or you can use it to play with people like toys. That choice is on you. If you are done living as prey, this is just the start. The emotional games around you are far more advanced than you think. There are people, companies, and systems that know exactly how to keep your nervous system on a leash. They profit when you cannot regulate yourself. If you want to see how they weaponize your guilt, your shame, your loneliness, and your need for approval, and how to dismantle each trick, you already know what to do next. This is not feel-good content. This is training. Stay, learn the rest, and stop playing the role they wrote for you.